Hello friends, welcome to Shankar IAS Daily Newspaper Analysis. Today's date is 30/4/2024. Displayed here are the list of articles that we are about to discuss. Without wasting much time, let's get started. Look at this question from 2022 Prelims. Consider the following statement. The Climate Group is an international non-profit organization that drives climate action by building large networks and runs them. The International Energy Agency, in partnership with Climate Group, launched a global initiative of EP100. EP100 brings together large companies committed to driving innovation in energy efficiency and increasing competitiveness while delivering on emission reduction goals. Some Indian companies are members of EP100. The International Energy Agency is the secretariat to the Under 2 coalition. Which of the statements given above are correct? 1, 2, 4 and 5, 1, 3 and 4 only, 2, 3 and 5 only, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Before answering this, let us now analyze each statements individually. See the first statement. The Climate Group is an international non-profit organization that drives climate action by building large networks and runs them. The Climate Group focuses on climate and energy initiatives with the world's leading business. So this statement is correct. Look at the statement number 2. The Climate Group leads EP100 initiative, which brings together 125 ambitious business committed to improving their energy efficiency. So this statement is incorrect. Third statement says that EP100 brings together leading companies committed to driving innovation in energy efficiency and increasing competitiveness while delivering on emission reduction goals. So statement 3 is correct. See, EP100 is a global corporate energy efficiency initiative led by Climate Group. It brings together 125 ambitious business committed to improving their energy efficiency, reducing greenhouse gas emission and increasing competitiveness. Now look at statement number 4. Some Indian companies are members of EP100. See, several Indian companies are members of EP100, including Dalmia Cement, Godrej, JSW Cements, Mahindra & Mahindra, Mahindra Heavy Engines, Swaraj Engines and Ultratech Cement. This statement is also correct. And the next statement is, the Climate Group serves as a secretariat for Under 2 coalition. This statement is wrong. See, Under 2 coalition is a global coalition of subnational governments committed to ambitious climate action. The Climate Group serves as a secretariat for the Under 2 coalition. Therefore, the correct answer is option B, 1, 3 and 4 only. This discussion is based on Science Quiz section of today's newspaper, which is regarding the use of chemical weapons in Vietnam War. Using this as an opportunity, let us revise few facts about Chemical Weapon Convention. Firstly, what is a chemical weapon? See, a chemical weapon is nothing but a chemical used to cause intentional harm or death through its toxic properties. Mutinion devices and other equipment specifically designed to weaponize toxic chemical also fall under the definition of chemical weapon. Now, talking about the Chemical Weapon Convention, see, Chemical Weapon Convention or CWC is a multilateral treaty that bans chemical weapons and requires their destruction within a specified period of time. It requires state parties to declare in writing to OPCW, that is Organization for the Prohibition of Chemical Weapons, that their chemical weapons stockpiles, chemical weapon production facilities, relevant chemical industrial facilities and other weapon related information. See, OPCW is nothing but an organization for the prohibition of chemical weapons, like said before. It is an implementing body of the Chemical Weapon Convention. Know that the negotiation of CWC began in 1980 at the United Nations Conference on Disarmament, but it became effective from April 1997. Now talking about its members, it has 192 state parties and 165 signatories. India signed the treaty in January 1993. Also, the convention prohibits the development, production, acquisition, stockpiling or even the retention of chemical weapon. Transferring of chemical weapon is also prohibited. The member country should not also use the riot control devices as a warfare method. With this brief understanding, let us go through Organization for the Prohibition for Chemical Weapon. Its mission is to free the world from chemical weapon and the threat of using that. It strives to ensure that the cooperation in chemicals happens only for peaceful purposes. It also authorized to perform inspection to verify that signatory states are complying with the convention. It also performs testing of sites and visiting of suspected chemical weapon attacks. Know that its headquarters is in Hague, Netherlands. In India, the Chemical Weapon Convention Act 2000 was passed to implement CWC. It provided for the establishment of National Authority for Chemical Weapon Convention. This institution, formed in 2005, is the chief liaison between Government of India and Organization for the Prohibition of Chemical Weapons. It is an office in a cabinet secretariat of Government of India. That's all about this article. With this, let's move on to our next discussion. Look at this article. It talks about marine heat wave. A recent study has found that the Indian Ocean has warmed by 1.2 degrees Celsius and the climate models expect it to heat up further 1.7 degrees Celsius to 3.8 degrees Celsius from 2020 to 2100. This can have diverse impact on monsoon and cyclones, including the formation of marine heat waves. So in this news article discussion, let us learn the impact of climate change on cyclones and monsoon. First, we shall see the impact on monsoon. Increased temperature in the Indian Ocean can lead to alteration in the monsoon precipitation pattern. Warmer ocean temperature may influence the moisture content and atmospheric circulation, and it can affect the time, intensity and the distribution of rainfall during the monsoon season. Secondly, the expected increase in the marine heat wave can lead to greater variability in monsoon pattern. Erratic weather conditions like prolonged dry spell or heavy rainfall may become more frequent. This can impact agriculture, water resources and the ecosystem that depend on monsoon. Thirdly, increased ocean temperature can disrupt ocean current and the temperature regime. This will impact marine ecosystem, fish stock, affecting the livelihood of coastal communities. Also, it can accelerate coral bleaching, seagrass destruction and the loss of kelp forest. Know that kelp forests are composed of rapidly growing large brown algae. These kelp forests provide food, nursery areas and shelter, including protection from predators and storm for hundreds of commercially and recreationally important fish species. So its disruption can cause impact on food chain of marine organisms. Then with respect to cyclone, the impacts will be: firstly, warmer ocean temperature provide more energy for cyclone formation and intensification. As a result, climate change can lead to more frequent and severe cyclonic storms. This poses greater risk to coastal communities in terms of wind damage, storm surges and flooding. Secondly, climate change can alter the track that cyclone follows, potentially shifting their path closer to or further away from populated areas. This can impact disaster preparedness and evacuation strategies for vulnerable coastal regions. Finally, frequent cyclones can cause significant damage to the coastal ecosystem, including coral reefs, mangroves and wetland. Climate change-induced cyclones can exacerbate habitat loss, leading to biodiversity decline and affecting the livelihood of the communities depend on these ecosystems. Apart from these, the rising heat content contributes to the sea level rise as well. Heat causes the volume of water to increase. This phenomenon is only called the thermal expansion of water. It is responsible for more than half of sea level rise in Indian Ocean, which is larger than the changes arising from glaciers and sea ice melting. That's all about this article. With this, let's move on to our next discussion. Look at this article. It discusses about the urgent need for a legal reform in India's poultry industry in the light of current H5N1 outbreak. It stresses on the interconnectedness between animal welfare, public health and environmental concerns, emphasizing on the detrimental effects on the industrial livestock production. It also mentions various key issues include cramped living conditions for animal, excessive antibiotic use and environmental pollution, which could pose a risk to Indian poultry industry. This is the crux of the article. In this backdrop, let us see the status of poultry industry in India and the challenges from prelims perspective. Firstly, let's see the status of poultry industry in India. See, India is a population of 1.4 billion people. Is highly focused on development and welfare, that is giving nutritious food, better health and living conditions for everyone. Moreover, with the increase in the income of people can now afford better nutrition. See the above two scenario, poultry industry serve as a game changer. It plays a vital role not only in satisfying the nutritional needs but also increasing the export potential of India. Moving forward, let us see some important data supporting these facts. India is the world's largest population of livestock. It produces around 5.3 million metric ton of meat and 75 billion eggs annually. Moreover, India is the largest producer of buffalo meat and the second largest producer of goat meat. With regard to the export potential of poultry, India's poultry export has touched a high of 1081 crore during 2022-23, doubling over the previous year's 529.8 crore. This is primarily because of the rising demands for eggs and egg products, among others. Also note that in the first 9 months of the current fiscal year, the poultry export stood at 1074 crore. Looking forward in the future, India's poultry market is expected to continue its upward trajectory, with projections indicating compounded annual growth rate of 8.1% during the forecasted period of 2024 to 2032. With this basic understanding, now let us see the challenges of Indian poultry industry. First one is disease outbreak. The poultry industry is vulnerable to diseases which can lead to massive loss and disrupt the supply chain. For example, the recent H5N1 and the bird flu, etc. See, the effective disease management and biosecurity measures are crucial to mitigate these risks. Second one is feed price volatility. See, the fluctuation in the price of feed ingredients such as maize and soya bean can impact the profit profitability of poultry farming. This can be rectified by ensuring a stable supply and exploring alternative feed sources, etc. The third one is competition from other protein sources. This is the emerging threat impeding the poultry sector. The poultry market faces competition from other protein sources like plant-based protein. Note that they are gaining popularity due to health and environmental concerns. The fourth one is regulatory hurdles. Stringent regulations related to animal welfare, food safety, and environmental impact can pose serious challenges for poultry producers, requiring compliance with various standards and norms. Fifth one is supply chain insufficiencies. Inadequacy in the supply chain, like transportation, cold storage, and distribution networks, can lead to post-harvest losses, wastage, and affect the quality of poultry products, hindering market growth. The sixth and the final one is environmental concerns. The poultry sector is one of the main emitter of methane, which is a greenhouse gas. Issues related to waste management and pollution from poultry farms are a growing concern for India. That's all about this article. With this, let's move to the next discussion. Look at this article. The government plans to build 6 big power stations that run on coal, each capable of making 30 gigawatts of electricity. It is going to cost about 8 crore for each megawatt of power these stations produce. That adds up to around 2.5 trillion for the whole project. These stations will be close to coal mines, and government will give land near these mines to the companies that make electricity. Big government companies like Coal India Limited will team up with electricity companies to build these power stations. This plan is happening even though India aims to have about 500 gigawatts of clean energy by 2030. This is what the article is about. In this context, let us discuss a mains question. Look at this question. Discuss the primary factors responsible for India's coal crisis. What short-term measures can be taken to address this crisis? And what long-term measures would you recommend to address the crisis sustainably? Let's start answering. Our introduction should go like this. Coal is India's primary source of electricity generation. It is estimated that around 70% of electricity is generated using thermal power plants. State-run Coal India is responsible for almost 80% of India's coal output. It is reported that they would ramp up the supplies to address the coal shortages across the power plants. There is a combination of factors that is causing coal crisis in India. If we take a look at last 4 years of energy consumption and compare it with the latest, we can see the usage has increased substantially. Now we shall move on to see the body part of the answer. Firstly, let us see the primary factors responsible for India's coal crisis. The country's industrial power demand has surged after the second coronavirus pandemic wave. On the top of that, a widening price gap between lower domestic prices and a record global coal prices has led buyers to shun the imports. An increase in the global cost and the freight cost has led to the curtailment in power production by plants using imported coal, adding to the pressure on the utilities using domestically mined coal to ramp up output. An increase in the coal prices generally has a knock-on effect on the power prices and inflation, making a hike a politically sensitive decision. Coal India has kept the prices steady over the last year, despite global coal prices rising steeply in the same period. The inadequate transportation infrastructure, including railways and roads, leads to delays in the coal transportation from mines to power plant, exacerbate the coal shortages. India's coal production is also affected by the monsoon season, which disrupts the mining operation, transportation, and the coal stocks at the power plant. The increased demand for electricity, driven by economic growth and urbanization, puts further pressure on coal supply. Next, we shall see the short-term measures that we can take to address this crisis. Firstly, importing coal. India can increase coal imports to supplement domestic production and meet immediate demand. However, this may lead to higher cost and dependence on the international markets. Secondly, improving transportation infrastructure. See, the investment in railways, roads, and ports can help alleviate the transportation bottlenecks and ensure smoother coal supply chain. Thirdly, coal stockpiling. Power plants can build up strategic coal reserves to mitigate the impact of supply disruptions during monsoon season or other emergencies. Fourthly, efficiency improvements. Enhancing the efficiency of coal mining and transportation operation can help optimizing the production and reduce wastage. Fifthly, promoting renewable energy. Accelerating the deployment of renewable energy sources such as solar and wind can reduce the reliance on coal for electricity generation in shorter term. Now moving on to see the long-term measures. Firstly, diversifying the energy sources. India should diversify its energy mix by promoting renewable energy source and investing in technology such as nuclear power and natural gas to reduce dependence on coal. Secondly, modernizing the coal sector. Reforms in coal sectors, including privatization, deregulation, and technology upgrades, can improve efficiency, productivity, and environmental performance. Thirdly, investing in clean coal technology. Research and development efforts should focus on developing and deploying clean coal technology such as carbon capture and storage to reduce greenhouse gas emission from coal-fired power plants. And fourthly, energy efficiency measures. Implementing energy efficiency measures in industries, buildings and appliances can reduce overall energy demand and lessen the need for coal-based electricity generation. And fifthly, promoting sustainable mining practices. Emphasizing on sustainable mining practices including land reclamation, rehabilitation of affected communities and minimizing environmental impacts can ensure responsible coal extraction. With this, let's move on to our conclusion. The current coal crisis is a wake-up call for India, and the time has come to reduce its over-dependence on coal and more aggressively pursue a renewable energy strategy. This is an opportunity to transition towards gas. Lastly, the current crisis affords an opportunity to India to push strongly towards this cleaner alternative. That's all about this analysis. Let's now move on to see two more important other articles that we need to cover today. Look at this Indian Express article. It states NATO didn't deliver what it promised. With respect to this article, we have to understand about NATO and NATO Plus for 2024 prelims. So what is NATO? That is North Atlantic Treaty Organization. See, it is a transatlantic alliance of 32 like-minded North American and European countries. It was established by North Atlantic Treaty, also called as Washington Treaty, on April 4, 1949. Its aim is to protect peace and to guarantee the territorial integrity, political independence and security of the member states. It is important to know that the Article 5 of the treaty says that if an armed attack occurs against any one of the member states, it should be considered as an attack against all the members, and other members shall assist the attacked member with armed forces if necessary. Also know that it has its headquarters in Brussels, Belgium. Now coming to NATO Plus. See, it is a grouping of NATO plus 5 other countries, including Australia, New Zealand, Japan, Israel and South Korea. The grouping worked towards boosting global defense cooperation. With this, let's move to the next article. Look at this article from The Hindu. G7 members agrees to phase out coal-fired power plants by 2030. With respect to this article, we need to focus upon G7 and its basic facts, which is highly relevant for 2024 prelims. See, the G7 is an informal grouping of 7 industrialized democracies consisting of Canada, France, Germany, Italy, Japan, United Kingdom and United States of America. The G7 was established to facilitate discussion and cooperation on the issues of mutual interest, such as global economic governance, international security and energy policy. Its origin is traced to oil crisis of 1973 and formed as a result of summit in France in 1975. It expanded to include Russia in 1997 as a G8 member. After the annexation of Crimea by Russia, it was suspended and the grouping again became G7. That's all about this discussion. With this, let's move on to our today's prelims practice question. Look at this question. Consider the following statements about Chemical Weapon Convention. Statement 1. It was set up by a resolution of Cabinet Secretariat. Statement 2. It is chaired by the Prime Minister of India. Statement 3. It is housed under the Ministry of Chemicals and Fertilizers. Which one of the above pair are correct? 1 and 2 only, 1 only, 2 only, all the above. The correct answer is option B, only 1. C. NACWC was established under Chemical Weapon Convention Act 2000 for implementing the provisions of conventions on the prohibition of development, production, stockpiling and the use of chemical weapons and on their destruction, signed by India in 1993. It has been set up as an office of Cabinet Secretariat under Government of India. So the statement 1 is correct, but the statement 2 and 3 are incorrect. Look at the second question. Which one of the following statement best describes the term social cost of carbon? Option A. It is measure in monetary value of the long-term damage done by a ton of carbon dioxide emission in a given year. Option B. Requirement of fossil fuel for a country to provide goods and services to its citizen based on the burning of those fuels. Option C. Efforts put in by a climate refugee to adapt to live in a new place. Option D. Contribution of the individual person to the carbon footprint on the planet Earth. And the correct answer is option A. A long-term damage done by a ton of carbon dioxide in a given year. The social cost of carbon is an estimate in monetary value. It is the economic damage that would result from emitting 1 additional ton of greenhouse gases into the atmosphere. That's all for today's discussion. Displayed here is the today's mains practice question. Interested candidates can write it in the comment section below. If you like this video, please hit like, share and subscribe. Thank you.